We have seen quite a bit of confusion around what the government may do in light of the recent ramp up in activity. That question around a curfew, for example, really seeing speculation.
Yeah, really fanned the speculation yesterday when the tweet went out from GlobalTimes, which is a state-run newspaper, part of the People's Daily. It put out a tweet saying that they had learned that the government was about to announce, the local government, Hong Kong government, was about to announce a curfew for over the weekend. Within the hour, though, it was deleted. The editor-in-chief of the GlobalTimes came out and said he had determined that there was not enough fact to put this out, so they retracted it. However, by that time, it had already spread like wildfire. The international media, including Bloomberg, had picked it up and put it out, not as fact, but as reported by the GlobalTimes. But the Hong Kong government has now come out saying rumors concerning a weekend curfew are, quote, totally unfounded. They're saying they will not impose a curfew, but they also added the caveat, at this current stage. And the police also in their daily press conference said it is not up to them to comment on the curfew. It's not up to them to decide on a curfew. It's up to the chief executive, Carrie Lam. And again, there's been a lot of criticism of Carrie Lam and her government of late. Even the South China Morning Post, the local English language newspaper, out with an article late last night saying there is a growing chorus of criticism of the government, considering now we're into what could be a fifth consecutive workday protest or unrest in the city here. We've had the Cross Harbor Tunnel disrupted. We have MTR stations damaged and closed. Again, there's a whole list. Please check your internet for closures if you're going to work this morning. I won't run through them now. But schools are again closed today, after all day yesterday as well, and through the weekend. Universities have closed. Many of them have canceled classes for the rest of the semester. Protesters also held a candlelight, smartphone light vigil last night in Edinburgh Place here in Central. So it's not just the hardcore elements that are coming out. They're the ones coming out with the violence, but the people are also coming out saying they want some leadership, they want some decisions, they want their freedoms, as you can see.
And we're seeing increasing international condemnation of the violence in Hong Kong, Steve. And finally, could we see some action coming from the U.S. Congress?
Yeah, we're hearing from Marco Rubio that they're going to expedite the Senate version of this bill. There could be, according to Senate aides, a vote on this as early as next week. Of course, then if the Senate passes and the House has their passed version, they'll have to reconcile the differences there. Then it would go to the president. No idea yet how he would respond to it, given that he is still trying to hammer out a trade deal with the Chinese. The Chinese have already come out. They've said Beijing has vowed unspecified countermeasures if the U.S. enacts the legislation, which, of course, is known as the Hong Kong Democracy or Human Rights and Democracy Act. We had late yesterday the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Beijing also weighing in, warning of retaliation if that bill passes. Well, Xi Jinping, as we noted at the top as well, speaking in Brazil, again, reiterating support for Carrie Lam, support for the police and the judiciary here, also denouncing the violence. Again, I'll just paraphrase what he said. Continuing radical violent crimes have seriously trampled on the rule of law. Stopping the violence and restoring order is Hong Kong's most urgent task. Nothing necessarily new, but it's coming from the top man in China, so that is significant. But that's been the message from the Hong Kong government as well. We must end the violence. But again, there's been no plan on how to do that.